I will call the meeting of the Public Health and Safety Committee to order at 11:03. Roll call, please.
Powell is on her way. Gingell absent with notice. Gershenson.
Here.
Jackson. Somewhere. McGilvray.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Cavell.
Here.
Joliet.
Here.
Clues.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is approving the minutes from May 2nd, 2023. Who would like to make a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Gershenson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. We move on to approving the agenda. There are no changes to the agenda as listed. I have a motion by Commissioner McGilvray, support from Commissioner Joliet. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. We have arrived at our first public comment. This is for any public to comment on items on the agenda. If there's anyone wishing to comment, please come to the end of the table and state your name and community. All right, public comment is closed. We move to communications. There are 6 items under communications. An application for the fiscal year 2024 Juvenile Mental Health Court Program. Another application for the Juvenile Drug Court Grant Program. Another application for the Michigan Veterans Treatment Court Program. The 5th application to the 2024 Michigan Drug Court Program. And the report from Oxford Economic Recovery Program. And the Q1 report from the Oakland County Out of School Time Learning Supports Investment. Is there anybody who'd like to make a motion? We have a motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Jackson. Questions or comments on the communications? All right, prompt the vote on communications, please.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. We move on to circuit court recommendations. There are 2 items under circuit court recommendations. Both applications, one to the State Court Administrative Office for the 2024 Adult Treatment Court Program, and the second application to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for the 24 to 28 Cooperative Reimbursement Program. I have a motion by Commissioner McGilvray, support from Commissioner Nelson. Let's see, who do we have here to talk about this? Oh, Chris Bujak and Suzanne Hollier. Thank you. Welcome.
B only.
Welcome.
Good morning, thank you. Nate Gilling on behalf of Chris Bujak, she couldn't attend this morning. Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to add about these 2 applications or each one application? So we'll start with the Adult Treatment Court Program.
Thank you. So my name is Nate Gilling. I'm the Treatment Court Coordinator for the Circuit Court Adult Treatment Court Program. We come today with a request to submit our grant for the Michigan Drug Court Grant Program for fiscal year 2024. New this year with the grant is also a federal grant request through the Office of Highway Safety Patrol and the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. So that's something new that SCAO is doing. Our grant request for this year is $334,000, 205. Last year we were awarded $279,000, so our request this year is for about $50,000 more. The request goes to the cost covering personnel, fringe benefits, contractual services, supplies, as well as travel and training. I will note that as far as our adult treatment court goes, we're a alternative sentencing program for those straddle cell offenders, so those offenders who are facing long-term jail or short-term imprisonment. The goal is to provide intensive community-based supervision for those participants to avoid any type of incarceration. So they are linked up with intensive community supports as well as surrounded with treatment services in hopes that they get the tools that they need to not reoffend. For the second year in a row, our average census has been over 100 participants. We currently have 94 active participants in the program with 17 pending cases. So those numbers are up significantly from where we were pre-COVID. It's our hope that the assistance that we'll get through the State Court Administrative Office will allow us to continue our services through the next fiscal year. Thank you.
It's a nice program.
Appreciate that.
And, Commissioner Gershenson?
It's a great program,
Appreciate
great
that.
success. Is there anything you could use from the Board of Commissioners? Now, you don't have to answer it right now. I know I'm just throwing it out to you the first time. If there's something you think about in a way that we could be helpful, besides passing this.
I appreciate that. We're being very creative in our approach to figuring out our funding solutions. Just this year, we're looking at ARPA funds as well to see if there's anything available that may be able to help that's outside of what can be covered through the State Court Administrative Grant. I appreciate
Okay,
it.
well, after that,
Yes, ma'am.
money expires, something that's a sustainable, long-term.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions regarding the Adult Treatment Court Program? All right, so then we'll hear from Suzanne regarding the Cooperative Reimbursement Program.
This is our great big grant that funds the entire front of the court operation. So it is federal money that comes through the State Office of Child Support. It's a program that's been in place since the 70s. The front of the court's been around for 100 years, a little over 100 years, but this federal funding came along in the 70s, and it provides 66% funding for our whole operation. In addition, we earn performance incentives based on how well we perform in 5 different areas. So that's on top of the 66%. And then in addition, we get another about $1 million a year in state general fund, general purpose money that helps fund our operation. And that was to fill a hole created by an accounting change that happened with how the incentives are happened back in 2005 and 2006. So we're heavily federally funded, also heavily federally regulated. So we're lucky we're one of the remaining uncapped entitlement programs in the federal budget. So pretty much as much as we need to run our operation, they'll pay 66% of that. So it's a good deal for the county. We manage about 50,000 cases with our 140 employees.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershenson?
So you mentioned they give incentives for performance, so have we gotten?
Oh yeah, every year we get about $1.4 or $5 million for our performance incentives. In fact, a lot of my colleagues around the state will say like, we take most of them and just give them whatever's left, you know, like little scraps. We do perform very well in those 5 categories, so we are well rewarded. It comes late in the fiscal year and it's always based on our performance 2 years prior.
And do you report that to us?
It's part of our budget that comes through the budget process, yes.
Okay, because for those of you that don't know Suzanne, she is an amazing superstar. We're so lucky to have you, the way you run this department. It's very impressive and we don't often get updates, so I really appreciate that and just wanted.
Anytime, I'm happy to come.
Thank you.
Our budget is really extremely complicated and it took a lot of mentoring from my other colleagues around the state to get my arms around it 20 years ago when I took this job on. It was really incredibly complicated and it's a big number. You can see it's over the next 5 years, it's $15 to $16 million every year, total of $75 million. So it's a lot of money and responsibility. So we do, although it's uncapped, we're mindful of the taxpayers and we wouldn't recklessly spend this money. We try to be good stewards of it, but I feel strongly, having done this for my career, that I think we're serving an important purpose for our county residents.
Well, and I agree, and our budget is extremely complicated too. So we do appreciate sometimes calling out a specific item so that we're aware of it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, prompt the vote for the circuit court recommendations, please.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next 4 items are Sheriff's Office recommendations. The first is the acceptance from the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards for the Law Enforcement Distribution Program, and otherwise we might know it as MCOLS. The second is another application for the Auto Theft Prevention Authority. The third is an interlocal agreement with the Somerset Collection for law enforcement services. And the last item is an application to the state police for the 2024 Paul Cloverdale Forensic Sciences Improvement Program, Cloverdale. So do I have a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner Jackson. And we have Gaia and our major here to
Major
talk.
Wondrak.
Good to see you all again.
Okay, the first one for MCOLs, this is the first installment of our annual distribution. We get 2 distributions, one in the spring and one in the fall. This one is an increase this year, which we're excited about because it's dwindled over the last few years. So it's a little over $96,000 that we put towards training.
Thank
You want them all
you.
at the
Any
same-
questions on,
Okay.
we'll ask for questions on each item.
Okay.
Any questions regarding MCOs? Commissioner Cavell?
What is the training focused on that you use it for, the money for?
Anything that comes in, so obviously you know Lieutenant Workman, so he oversees every request that comes in. So there are restrictions on what it can be used for, so it's primarily for registration and depending on what kind of training. So we have different pots of money for different types of training, so anything that can fall under MCOLs for
Gotcha.
licensed officers, we put them through this one.
Okay.
And obviously, we try to use all of our different specialized pots of money, grants, et cetera, first before we go to the general fund, so.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, the auto theft prevention.
Okay, this is our annual application for the Auto Theft Prevention Authority and our Auto Theft team. This is a multi-jurisdictional team that covers obviously the Sheriff's Office, multiple Oakland County cities, and the city of Detroit. We're asking for a little over 1.3 million in grant funding. There's also a grant match where we pay our portion and then the cities pay their portion of required grant match. And this is to mitigate auto theft and fraud within Oakland County and surrounding areas.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, we'll move to the agreement with the Somerset Collection that's been occurring for many years.
Okay, so yes, this is our annual, we're here a little bit earlier because historically they've only requested our services during the holiday season. They're now requesting us to have some staffing on the weekends at the mall. So they will pay it, this is on a basically on a volunteer as we're able to staff it. We will not force anybody to work overtime for this agreement, but if they're available and they sign up for it, then they'll work it. So what they do is they'll pay our any applicable overtime rates and or holiday rates if it happens to fall on a holiday. And they also allows for sergeants and lieutenants to work it as well if there are not deputies that are available, so.
And we'll be working with Troy PD as well, in conjunction with them.
And when would the agreement begin?
As soon as approval happens, so they want us to start immediately if possible.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershenson?
So who drafts these interlocal agreements?
Usually I take a template and work with Corporation Counsel and or
Okay.
risk management.
I have a suggestion, and I don't wanna blindside you with it, so we can talk off if
Okay.
you're the one that does that.
Yeah, so usually it's a template that's been in existence, or if it's a new type, then Corporation Counsel obviously puts their legal requirements into it.
Okay,
And risk
so
management puts their insurance requirements into it.
this will go in front of the board next week, so we have time to talk about that. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cabell?
So this is, You said it's different than the holiday thing because the holiday thing is generally, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a mounted division or something, right? And it's like for Christmas time or it's extra support because of Christmas time.
Yeah, we
That's
have,
what you said.
on Christmas, they have the mounted and regular deputy support as well. So now they want to continue it year round.
Year round. Why don't they just hire their own security?
Well, we're there as a law enforcement capacity, not just security. So we'll function as law enforcement, working with Troy Police to police the mall, actually.
Somerset Mall does have security.
Right. So they have security and then they have Troy Police and then you're gonna start being there on weekends.
Yeah, we're assisting Troy Police, yes. Normally they have 4, but they can't always fill them. So that way they put it out to us to assist them in filling the positions.
They've had an increase of activity of crime, people following the shoppers out to their car and then removing their purchased items from them.
Yeah, but a mall is a private space. So it's like the reason malls were invented is so that there could be a privately owned piece of property that then was privately controlled. So, and there's already security that's private and the publicly funded Troy Police there.
Well, they pay for Troy Police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
they're
we're
in
assisting Troy Police in their, we're utilized as law enforcement. So if a crime's committed, we can take action where a security guard necessarily can't take action.
But the Troy Police can also take action.
But yeah, they're there with us. The mall's a huge place. 2 people might not be able to cover the whole mall.
Right.
Commissioner Joliet?
Yeah, I support this, having been there through the years and seen, especially since COVID, the influx of crime that has gone beyond a security officer's scope makes me feel more comfortable. So,
Commissioner Cavell?
Just to be clear, us inferring or saying there's an influx of crime without using statistics or data then is not proof of crime, FYI.
Well, I'm sure they could get that for you.
I would love to see it.
Commissioner Jackson?
So basically, we're saying about 2 officers
2 max, yeah.
fortify their 4 if they can't get 4. If they can get their 4, Troy Police has their 4, and they don't need us. They just need us to help fortify their operation.
Well, we haven't really,
Mhm.
normally they don't have 4 there.
Okay.
But we assist them, and they still want our assistance with 2, whether Troy has 4 or not. But
Oh, thank you, that clarifies what I was thinking, because I know just in law enforcement, period, there's work-life balance and fatigue issues, so this is basically due to that.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of law enforcement officers don't want to work the overtime they used to work. That's a balance.
And that's why we've written that in there, that we will not force any of our employees to work this. If this assignment is open and they're willing and they volunteer because they are looking for an overtime shift, so it's kind of a win-win if, they need our support, but we're not gonna make anybody do it. Like we would have to staff the jail or staff our road positions, that this is a completely volunteer basis for our team.
Commissioner Nelson, followed by Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While this question isn't directly related, I think it is indirectly related in regards to hiring. Where are we at? I know that previously we have received hiring updates in regards to, from the last I've heard, we had a lot of vacant positions. And so I bring this up because obviously it's important that we prioritize the safety of Oakland County residents in our roads and in our communities. So where are we at with hiring and those vacant positions? I believe there was 50-some vacancies that was last reported. So could you provide a little update on where we are with that?
Well, I can speak for the road patrol. Right now, we're the best we've ever been. All our positions are covered. I'm still waiting for 3 people from the police academy to graduate to fill those spots. And then I have 4 people on deck should further positions come. So all our positions are spoken for in the road patrol. And then in corrections, I believe we're 6 to 8 short. So over the past 6 months, 8 months, we've been killing it. We've been getting a lot of applications, hiring a lot of people. We're doing really well.
Yeah, the closest to full employment we've been in years.
Sounds like it, it's great.
History. So now we're trying to work with HR to come up with strategies that we can maybe overfill a little bit, or how we can do that, that we don't let go of these people that are ready to be hired, but we don't have a position for them, that we can hire them, because obviously we know there's gonna be some other
Competition.
turnover and some other whatever, but we don't wanna lose them to other agencies. So we're kind of at this tipping point to figure out how we can do that and like overfill a little bit. So it's a really good spot to be in, and a place we haven't been in a long time, so.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Cabell?
Yeah, someone brought up a good question, which is why is Troy like being short-staffed, or could this also set a precedent for, well, Oakland County's paying for these 2 cops, so we used to have 4 at Somerset, Oakland County fills in 2, and then we go, well, I guess we could just do 1, now Oakland County's paying for 3, and then next year's contract comes back and Troy says, look, we're gonna have our 4 cops do something else, right? This is what I can see happen, just haven't been here a couple years, it kind of seems how things go.
Well, these are limited shifts and it's on an overtime basis, so Oakland
Sure.
County's not paying, they're paying the overtime rate.
Yeah. But instead of Troy cops patrolling, I'm saying there could be a precedent that becomes set. Do you see that happening, and why would Troy not be fully staffing their own location as of right now?
I can't speak for Troy, but you know, we're there to assist them and work with them if they need us.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the Forensic Services Improvement Program.
Okay, so if you recall, last meeting I was here with the acceptance for the 2023 grant. This is the annual application for the 2024 Paul Coverdell grant, and we're asking for just under $74,000, and it's the same opioid test kits and a portion of a forensic lab investigator.
Okay, Commissioner Nelson, followed by Commissioner Cabell.
Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I thought I was supporting, but we did that initially.
Oh, we need yes, thank you. Commissioner Cabell?
I know this isn't exactly what this is, but because it talks about the forensic lab, it sparked something in my mind. Commissioner Gershenson and I worked a lot on gun buyback, and then, right, so how far along are we with that? Because I heard the lab hasn't been able to process the guns or something from October.
Well, right now, there is a backlog.
Okay.
We were short an examiner for the gun examiner. We hired somebody, they're taking the required certificate or courses to be an expert in this, and they should be done within 2 weeks, and we hope that will catch up the process, so.
We also had 2 part-time positions that are firearms examiners, so if you recall, we used to get funding from HIDA that covered those, and the funding went away last year, so then we had to come back and we had 1,000-hour position that we deleted, we cut it and made it into 2, so their hours were significantly reduced to 500 each. Instead of, I think they started at 1,000 and as the HIDA funding got cut, they got cut back to 700, 600, whatever. So now they only have 500. In our 2024 budget request, I have made some changes, so budget neutral changes to increase those positions up to 1,000 hours each. So it'll add another 1,000 hours, so hopefully that'll go towards this mission.
Good primer for the budget, thanks.
Commissioner Gershenson, followed by Commissioner Joliet.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Cabell. That was my next question, because it was very upsetting to learn that Father Yaw from Southfield was unable to have his gun buyback program because we had such a backlog from October. And of course, we had no idea. The commissioners are just operating under the assumption that, oh yeah, there's not a problem. But we've since learned there is a problem. So I want to talk to you also, because we could make some adjustments during the budget process so that the community that wants to do gun buyback programs can, that they're not turned down because of our lab. And so I want to just better understand that if you feel that your changes to the budget request are adequate so that it can handle. You know, the October one was big. It was 4 or 5 communities. This one was little. This is just Southfield. And I know the police chief was upset. Everybody was upset about having to tell them no. And it was a big surprise to us. We were not aware of the shortage there. So I want to be sure that's remedied, because I know our county exec supports a gun buyback. I know they're gonna be happening in the future, and we wanna know where we stand, clearly where we stand on the lab part of the whole process.
I think there was an issue with storage as well, and I think that
Correct.
might have been with that, where we don't have the capacity to store them. And each local municipality has a process where they can only bring a certain number to us at the same time. So I think that might be where
It was a
that
big
was.
issue as well, but if it's moving faster than Bring Us 4, where some communities took over 400,
Right, and
then that's gonna take a couple of years to clear.
because obviously the criminal cases take precedent, and then
Of
those are,
course.
they fit those in between the
Of
cases
course.
that they're assigned, so yeah, there is.
Yeah, the number, it has to increase, it has to be expedited. We just wanna find out how we can help make that happen. And if it's a storage issue, maybe there are other sources we can look at. But right now, the focus has been on making sure there's enough lab technicians to get the process moving a little quicker.
Well, and probably we have the 2 part-timers, so even making those 2,000-hour positions is still not a full-time position doing it, so that would
We'll
be,
talk
yeah.
about that. Have you met with Kyle, have you met with the executive team regarding your budget yet?
Yes, I
You
met with
already
them a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so then I'll reach out to Kyle Jen as well to let him know it's a priority for me and Commissioner Cavell, and I wanna be sure it's a priority for all the commissioners, so we'll talk about this at caucus as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Joliet?
I don't know how many commissioners knew about the tour that was offered for the forensics lab. I think it was sent to everybody, but it was back in the springtime. It was fascinating to see the forensic lab in action, and we saw where the guns were from the ones that they were testing and how they tested them from the buyback program. So if the opportunity presents itself again, I highly encourage those that didn't attend
Good.
to, it's a big learning experience, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, so specifically, Commissioner Cavell, we are going to vote as a group, but is there an item you want to pull off of the group voting under Sheriff's Office recommendations?
Yes, please, 9C.
Okay, so we are going to now vote on the MCO's distribution plan, the Auto Theft Prevention Authority, and the Forensic Science Improvement Program. So prompt the vote, please.
There's 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, and now we will vote on the agreement with the Somerset Collection for Law Enforcement Services. So will you prompt the vote? Oh, I need a motion for that. I have a motion by Commissioner Joliet, support from Commissioner McGilvery. And would you prompt the vote?
And 5 yeas and 2 nays.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. We are at our second public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. There is no other business to come before this committee, so the committee is adjourned at 11:31. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.